Hello everybody, welcome to Dr. Z's Discussions, and I'm going to continue on. Today we'll have something directly from the website. It's a series of questions that I ask the people that come to the website to answer. Just as really a health IQ, natural health IQ, and it lets you know where you are. Either you can answer those questions readily or you can't. I will give you the answers to those questions today. Sometimes there's more than one answer. But before we begin, I always like to start off with putting out the positive energy, as I always do. So peace, power, prosperity, and most of all, love to you and your families. I also want to give a shout out to the fans of Chicago Bulls, to Derrick Rose, his family. He's got another knee injury. This is now the third injury since 2010. It's very devastating. He was back on track. He was doing well. I'm a big basketball fan, by the way, in case you didn't know. We got the Clippers here in LA right now. The Los Angeles Lakers not doing so hot. And I grew up in New York, so I grew up playing basketball, and thank the sports gods for creating such a sport called basketball. Literally saved my life. I fell in love with the sport at an early age and never looked back, and still at the age of 55 I play basketball. I played on Monday, I will play tomorrow, which will be Wednesday. And I'm still pretty effective at it, and people ask me, well, why do you continue to play basketball? Why don't you play something a little safer like tennis or golf or something like that? And I said, well, number one, I study basketball like I study medicine, like I study healing. So I know the details of the sport. I know how to coach the sport. I know how to manage people. I said it allows me to be a leadership in a different venue. It's kept me off the streets. It's kept me, whenever I was stressed out or upset about something, I could always go connect with friends to play basketball, like-minded people that were serious about the sport. And it's really carried me a long ways. I mean, I worked for the NBA through a company called ASAP, where I did the drug rehab for the rookie program back in the late 80s, early 90s. So basketball, National Basketball Association, playing with pro basketball players, playing with college basketball players, player development, all that stuff has been part of me. And I just love the game. I just love I don't care if it's a half-court game, a full-court game, a pickup game, a league game, a championship game. It's all the same to me, man. I come to play, I come to win. But really what I do is I come to execute and play the game properly at the highest level that I know how. So I just got the news today that Derrick Rose tore that medial meniscus again. And depending on how serious it is, he could be out 6 weeks. He could be out 3 to 4 months, and typically most people are out 3 to 4 months. Well, this is the second time he's torn that knee. Derrick, my recommendation to you, you must detoxify your body. You must alkalinize your body. You must get sunlight. And in Chicago, that may be hard to do. So while you're rehabbing, you may want to get out of Chicago and go to a warm climate. You must eat a ton of fruits, especially right after the surgery. Why? Because fruits will cool you off. It will give you an anti-inflammatory response. And that anti-inflammatory response not only promotes healing, but it makes it easier for the body to repair and heal itself. It also gives you a detoxification response. I just had a guy that was at that I played basketball with, younger guy, about 28, 29. He's trying to find himself, but he's a nice guy, good heart, and a very good basketball player. He coaches younger kids, so we always talk about what each other's doing as far as coaching is concerned. And I always give him tidbits. I'm coaching the older players and helping them develop, and he's coaching the younger players, and it's all the same thing, man. You want to develop good people, good human beings, and you use sports as the vehicle. And whatever sport you love, that's the sport that you're going to use. So I'm a big believer, parents, in getting your kids involved in the sport or multiple sports the whole way through elementary school straight on to high school and college, and encouraging them to continue even beyond college, because it just has tremendous psychological and physical benefits as long as you don't overdo it, and you understand that when the body's injured, there's certain things you have to do, and one of them is not go back out there and play again until that body's completely healed. And I'm pretty sure with any of us that are, and I'm not talking about your weekend athletes, I'm talking about serious athletes that have, injured ourselves and then, continue to go out there and, expecting a miracle to happen and things get worse. So if you have injured yourself, Derek, just like Derek Rose did, you want to stop listening to a lot of crazy opinions. I mean, 3 knee injuries, man, is telling you something's going wrong, okay? That the cartilage is not healing the way it should heal, and you're subjected to a 4th knee injury. I would hate to see such a great talent like that go straight down the tubes, but that's what's going to happen. You've got to go raw. You've got to understand that the body really exists in, I'm going to say 4 fluids, but two fluids for just understanding, and then 2 other fluids to understand pH and alkalinity, which I've talked about in other videos. Big picture, you have 2 fluids. You have extracellular fluids, i.e. fluids that are outside the cell, and you have intracellular fluids, and that's the fluids that are inside the cell. Not too hard to understand. You then have 2 other types of fluids. These would all be extracellular fluids, and they're called the lymph fluid or blood. That's it. You have lymph and blood. That's it. Now blood, you can spin it down, it can become serum, it can become plasma, but it's still a blood or a blood filtrate. And then you have lymph, and lymph that's part of the sewer system, the part of your immune system, where we have lymph nodes, and those lymph nodes are very, very important when we start messing around with lymph nodes, like i.e. doing tonsillectomies, when we have no business doing tonsillectomies, taking and adenoidectomies, God forbid, that this is what the mad scientists do. And I'm going to be doing, if I have a little time, I might do it, but I think I'll leave it for just a special videos, a message to doctors, because we're the mad scientists, and I refer to my colleagues affectionately as the mad scientists, really have lost their freaking minds in terms of how they approach health. Listen, you've been trained as medical doctors, but your thinking has to be that of a healer. And if you're not thinking about healing, that means you're not pushing yourself forward and getting out of the box. You're staying in the same box. You do the same studying within the same box. Yeah, you know all the different medications, you know all the different fancy things that you can come up with as far as drugs and crazy treatments are concerned. And guess what? All we're doing is disease management and symptom suppression. And I believe that's the way the system was designed. In the long run, if we start curing people and we get people well, then there are no more customers. If we show how to prevent disease, again, there are no more customers. So you've got to understand, with modern medicine, or what we refer to as allopathic medicine, it is not about cure. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of cures sitting up in the shelves, just like I'm sure there's a lot of free energy cures sitting up on the shelves of these oil executives that will never see the light of day, at least not during our lifetime. Why? Because that doesn't create customers. And remember, we are a capitalist society, and it is driven by money. So the biggest part of the health, quote, care system, which I don't even call it health care, it's health monitoring, is symptom suppression and disease management, period, end of sentence. And then we get, obviously, symptom suppression leads to more disease and more problems. You can't suppress symptoms. Symptoms are there for a reason. They must be allowed to express themselves. We must be in tune with our own bodies. We must be educated enough, we must be wise enough, we must have the knowledge, we must have the conceptual frameworks of which to make rational decisions. And I'm talking about those of you who are suffering, or those of you who want to achieve optimum health, or those of you who want to even take this to a spiritual, metaphysical level to the highest degrees. You have to understand that when you're going into this allopathic medicine, which I was trained in, that was my first training. Luckily, I got trained in metaphysics early, so all this medical stuff didn't really just affect me in such a way that I became completely brainwashed by it. And I said in other videos, most of the stuff they were teaching me, I said, I don't even believe half the crap that you're teaching me, because I don't see that you any cure. Number two, I don't see you talking about nutrition. Number three, I don't see you talking about detoxification. I don't see you talking about even basic things like keeping the GI tract clean. Okay, forget about the kidneys and the kidney function. I mean, we don't even pick up bad kidney function until it's, things are getting down the line. Again, symptom suppression, disease management at this point in time does not work. In an emergency situation, a semi-urgent situation, yes, we need a pharmaceutical. Yes, we may need that good surgeon. Yes, we may need a symptom suppression for a short period of time just to provide relief if something is very serious pain, serious congestion to the point where you can't breathe, you can't sleep. Yes, that's when we do bring pharmaceuticals in. That's why Sherry Tenpenny, and go check her workout on vaccines, and I'll be talking about that soon enough when I put out the video message to doctors. That'll be maybe the next video as part of the Dr. Z Discussions series is concerned. And go check out Sherry Tenpenny. I really think that she is the one person, and she's an OD, but she's board certified apparently in 3 different specialties. That's probably not a good thing, by the way. What you need to do is become an OD or an MD and then use that knowledge to practice naturopathic medicine, period, end of sentence. But I think she's gotten the message. And she talks about vaccines and the chemicals that go in vaccines, the mercury, the toxins, the adjuvants, the research that's been done, the lack of research that's been done. And then people come to me and say, well, you're anti-vaccine because you never vaccinated your daughter. I said, no, I'm not anti-vaccine. Probably if they didn't put the toxic chemicals in the vaccines, and if they didn't put the adjuvants in the vaccines that stimulates your immune system, and if we didn't have mercury and other chemicals in there, and we weren't putting multiple vaccinations together, such as MMR, where we have 3 viruses, and then it just gets crazy. I mean, if we had this measles vaccine that was simple, clean, showed that it could confer, we did proper research to show that it could confer immunity against that particular disease, then I'm probably okay with it. I mean, listen, if I get poked by an old rusty nail, I go get a tetanus toxoid shot? Probably. Although that's happened to me before, and I never did because I just intuitively I didn't feel like I needed to, but I would certainly consider that. If I got bit by a rabid dog, well, I go get the shots or the vaccinations for the rabies. Yeah, of course I would. So I can't say that I'm anti-vaccine. What we can say is the way the vaccines are set up now. My daughter, at the age of, how old was she? 2 hours old. These fools are coming in, and I'm a doctor, and they're coming in saying, well, she needs a hepatitis vaccine. I'm like, she needs a hepatitis vaccine? Are you freaking nuts? You don't put in a fucking hepatitis vaccine in my daughter. Have you gone completely out of your mind? And do you know who I am? You better go look at some of my videos. It's not going to happen. Ever. And she's never been vaccinated because I don't see the need to vaccinate her. But again, I'm not like anti-vaccine. I'm anti-idiocy. I'm anti-fools trying to make a bunch of money without really providing what they're supposed to provide, a vaccine that works. They've come out and said that the flu vaccine doesn't work. So if the flu vaccine doesn't work, what the hell are we doing getting the flu vaccine? So you're injecting yourself with crap. The other thing about these vaccines is, let's say if I caught measles, and I've had measles, I had pox, chicken pox, mumps and all that kind of stuff, and I've never had it again. Why? Because when you get a disease naturally without injecting it into yourself, which is unnatural, you confer lifetime immunity against something. When you inject it, number one, you can become allergic to the carrier molecules, the stuff that's actually around the vaccines. Okay, the vaccines themselves, especially if it's multiple vaccines, can change and mutate. We haven't figured that out yet. We've got to understand that we don't need to be injecting stuff into people if it's not going to work. And so, if the vaccine for MMR, the vaccines for the flu, the vaccines in general, if it's not been proven scientifically that it confers immunity and really confers it for life, I'm not really interested in it. I don't think it has much value. So, and I think you can do damage. I mean, everybody's talking about autism and vaccine. I mean, listen, autism's like at the top of the heap of the worst that, some of the worst things that it can cause. But it can cause meningitis, it can kill you dead, it can cause mercury toxicity, it can cause all kinds of things. It's a spectrum of things. It's not just autism. So we'll go check out Sherry Tenpenny, her website, get one of her DVDs. Matter of fact, I'm going to probably order one of her DVDs tonight. I heard that she came out with a new one, so I want to take a look at that. And we look at all the autoimmune diseases. This is when the immune system goes crazy and starts attacking the natural parts of the body that weren't meant to be attacked. And then we can cut things like rheumatoid arthritis, systemic lupus erythematosus, and all these quote autoimmune things. And really, what it is, we've injected toxins and we stimulate the immune system unnaturally. And of course, it's going to behave unnaturally. What the hell do you expect to happen? So this is the problem. And so right now, I'm not telling you to vaccinate or not vaccinate. I'm telling you to make sure you get informed and make a decision based on knowledge and understanding rather than, well, the doctor told me so. I have a patient right now who just turned 60 in the hospital, and I'll keep her identity obviously confidential. But let's say, I'm going to give you the example of what I've been working with, and this is frustrating. First of all, I'm working on an inpatient psychiatric unit, so this automatically means this is essentially the emergency room of the psychiatric world. It is those who have really gone and hit the bottom, suicidal, psychotic, delusional, agitated, violent, unable to take care of themselves, homeless, out in the streets talking to themselves, hallucinating, delusional, you name it, the worst things you can imagine mentally, visual hallucinations, auditory hallucinations, paranoia, believe the devil's talking to them. These are very sick people, and you can't sit around and tell them, well, you need to go on a raw food diet, sir, or you need to detoxify your body. It ain't gonna work. I mean, you have to use medication. So again, thank God we do have some pharmaceuticals, because again, on an urgent or emergency situation, you need to use these things. Now we have a lady who's been diagnosed with depression, major depression. She's been diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder, which is mainly just saying you got a severe anxiety disorder, and you need to go find out what the heck it is that you're afraid of. What are you worried about? What stuff have you pushed down and tied yourself into an emotional knot? What are you feeling guilty about, shameful about, etc.? And nobody has done psychotherapy with this lady. So I'm the only one that does psychotherapy with her, so I spend a good hour today doing psychotherapy with her. None of the other doctors will sit an hour with their patients and do psychotherapy. I don't think most of them even know how to do psychotherapy now. Most of them know how to push drugs. You know, fair enough on an emergent or urgent psychiatric unit, but I still think you need to be able to do psychotherapy if the patient is aware enough and has enough insight where that will work. So here's an example of someone who really is a victim of the system. On 4 or 5, 6 psychotropic medications. I cannot stop the psychotropic medications, because if I were to stop them suddenly, she would get worse. Why? Because the brain and the body begins to adjust over a chronicity of years, a number of years, 3, 5, 10, in her case 20, 30 years of being on these drugs. And if you stop it, you're now pulling out of something that now the brain and the body sees as vital. It's adjusted and built around its homeostasis around it, its physiology around it, its neurotransmitters around that. So if you stop it suddenly, you're going to go bonkers. End of sentence. So you cannot stop these medications. Peter Breggin, if you can get his book about the how to get off of psychotropic medications, is very interesting, because he says the same thing. Yeah, we need to be pulling a lot of these people over medicated, too many psychotropic medications being used. But not just that, it's that once they're on these things for years and years and years, it becomes very, very difficult to get them off of it. And again, you can do great damage to your system, because why? These are synthetic toxins in the long run. They can cause movement disorders, abnormal degenerative neurological conditions called tardive dyskinesia. Go look that up. Extrapyramidal symptoms. They can cause allergic reactions. They can cause breathing abnormalities. They can cause metabolic problems. So the list goes on and on and on. There's no medication, not even aspirin, that doesn't come associated with a ton of side effects. I mean, you read the commercials, you look at the commercials on the drugs, and it's telling about the beautiful butterflies flying, and everybody's getting a great night's sleep, and right at the end, can cause multiple sclerosis, can cause seizures, may cause interrupted infertility, it may kill you, it may just make you into a serial killer. Jesus. Criminy, what is going on? And we don't pay attention to that. We pay attention to the beautiful butterflies and the nice lady who's waking up refreshed and ready to go. That's not the real world, folks. That's called brainwashing. And again, most of us, like I said, have been brainwashed to one extent or another, myself included. So what did I want to, so again, Derek, I'm sorry about that. Please get yourself on a raw food diet. Please detoxify yourself, oxygenize, nutrify, get the sunlight, drink pure water. Do not drink Gatorade. And for you athletes out there, man, if you have colored water in your hand, throw it away. Colored water cannot make you healthy. Okay? If you want a real pick-me-up during or before or after athletic performance, there's only one water that I would even recommend outside of pure spring water. And that's coconut water. That is at the top of the chain as far as athletic performance is concerned. It's coconut water. Raw, organic, coconut water. Not cooked coconut water that comes in a carton that you see sitting over in the Whole Foods or these other stores. That is no longer coconut water. That is a coconut product. In other words, it's been heated, it's been cooked, it's been altered. So you can no longer call it coconut water. But yeah, if you want athletic water, if you want to replace your electrolytes, if you want to get some energy, if you want to get the good kind of sugar into your bloodstream for athletic performance, you would drink coconut water. And trust me, it gives you all the electrolytes, it gives you the minerals, it gives you the sugar, the proper sugars, it hydrates at the cellular level, and it will prevent cramps. And I don't know why, we have colored water. Why is LeBron James promoting Sprite in a plastic bottle that's pure sugar? Because he don't know no better. LeBron, I know you got to take the money, my friend, and this is what you think is part of your career, but you better wake up too, because the things that you promote, the things that you stand behind, whether you know so or not, you still incur karma to one degree or another. So now I'm telling you, LeBron James, please don't promote Sprite. When that contract ends, do not do another Sprite commercial. Find a coconut company and go do coconut commercials. You'll probably make coconut water the most important drink in the world if you did that. See, if you wake up and decide what you want to promote based on your education and knowledge, not based on what other people are telling you, you do some research. And obviously drinking freaking Sprite or any kind of soda, that's an acid product, it cannot be healthy for you, and it is not. And of course, we know that high fructose corn syrup, which people get confused with the fructose in sugar and fruits, two different animals, my friends, two different animals, two different responses in the body. One is a nice, gentle response. The other one is a complete earthquake, shattering, chaotic response. And when kids are drinking this stuff and they're putting sugar and all this crap on the cornflakes and whatever kind of crazy cereals, and then then the mother said, well, I won't give them cow milk because Dr. Z said cow milk was no good. So let me go buy the store-bought almond milk, and you can put that on the cereal and cut up a couple of bananas and think it's breakfast. We really, really, really gotta wake up. So anyway, my condolences go to Derek, and I hope a speedy recovery, but really detoxification, alkalinization, oxygenation, nutrification, and you really got to change how you're eating. You have to change your whole approach to how you're playing basketball. I would take ballet, I would take yoga if I were you, and really get that balance back in gear, get those energies focus, so you understand how to focus yourself. And I think he can come back, but if he comes back the same way, in the same diet, with the same attitude that he had before, it's going to end up in disaster. So anyway, but I like Derrick Rose. I think he's a great prodigy ever since he was, where did he come out of? Memphis, with Calipari teaching him the dribble drive motion offense, but that's a video for another time. So let's get to these questions that I had on my website that people were asking about, and really that's what I really came here to do this evening. I say here, can you answer the following questions? And it's interesting. The first question is, what is the difference between therapeutic intervention and curative intervention? Of course, I've already made a video about that, so please go see the video about that. But we know that therapeutic intervention does not cure anything. Therapeutic intervention can make you feel better. Therapeutic intervention can become part of a program of curative intervention, but we know that curative intervention really it starts with, number one, the consciousness. Number two, it starts with getting knowledge and getting educated. Number three, it starts with understanding these fluids in the body. And I got sidetracked, so let's go back to the other fluids, blood and lymph. So blood and lymph. Blood has to have a pH of 7.365 or 7.4. We just rounded up. And lymph is acid. Why? Because lymph carries away the cellular waste. So one can be seen as a kitchen. It's taking food to the cell. Okay, the cells then have to go through their metabolic issues to produce energy, to keep the cell's integrity, to keep the cell wall intact, and to keep it functioning as a part of a group of millions of cells that work together to form an organ, an endocrine system, a nervous system, your eyes, your teeth. So they work together, and that's the genetics of it. So they work together, but in working, it gives off waste. When it gives off waste, that waste goes into the lymph system. Remember, your lymph is 75% of all the fluid in your body is lymph. That means acid waste. And where does it go? It typically will go to your kidneys, your left kidney and your right kidney, and it is sided. There's a lot of stuff happening on one side of your body. You can best believe the kidney on the right side. I know it doesn't make sense to the medical doctors and the mad scientists because they're not treated that way, and it sounds outrageous. When I first heard it, it sounded outrageous to me, and I thought it was pure heresy until I actually did the research and actually worked on myself, did the detoxification on myself, and then understood, oh yeah, that's the truth. And that was an idea that Dr. Robert Morse put into my head. So, blood and lymph. Blood can never have waste dumped into it. The minute it has waste dumped into it, you're dumping acids into it, and to dump acids into the blood for prolonged periods of time would upset the chemistry, turn the blood into an acid cesspool, and you'd be dead in a very short period of time. So the body can't do that. It doesn't dump waste. The only real waste that gets dumped back into blood is carbon monoxide, and I don't really consider it a waste. It's just part of, it's part of what the blood does through the red blood cells is take oxygen to the cells. So, and then it takes the CO2, which is the waste product after the cells have taken the oxygen. It takes the CO2 and we breathe it out, and then we breathe it in. Hyperbaric oxygen chambers can increase the percentage of oxygen and the quality of oxygen that we're taking into our bodies, and really high oxygen, again, things that are in high alkaline, high oxygen levels, parasites and all these little critters that like to feed on the crap of the body, because it is acid and it is full of a lot of waste because of what we're eating. They can't survive in that type of environment. That's why that's why we recommend the raw food diet in the first place. So it is a raw food consciousness, it's a raw food understanding, because again, most of you can have the understanding, the awakening, and you may not choose to go 100% raw, but you should be minimum 75% raw, and then moving yourself up the line little by little, and cutting more and more of the crap out. But the majority of you, if you not have significant sickness, if you can get to 75% raw food, that's fruits and vegetables, emphasis on the fruits. But as of late, now again, this is when you get in touch with yourself. I've been doing a lot of the green drinks. with some nut milk and some coconut milk added to the green drink to make it just a little bit more palatable for me. And that has really had a, it's one of the reasons why I started making videos again, because I started really getting energized just by the green drinks. And my green drinks are full of herbs, so we can't just say that these are, it's not a detox drink, because the way I make my green drinks, it is a detox drink. It has lemon in it, it has parsley, it has turmeric in it, it has ginger in it. It has parsley, cilantro, dandelions, spinach. What else would I put in it? I think that's about that's an average drink. Sometimes instead of spinach, I might put arugula in it, or sometimes I may put kale in there. I don't use the kale that often because it's very strong and very powerful. You could add a beet to it, half of a beet. Again, that makes it extremely powerful and really changes the whole character of a green drink, and it can take over a green drink because beets are very strong, so you gotta be careful with the beets. You be careful with any root vegetable, i.e. where the starch of that vegetable is in the ground and the green part of it is up the ground. You have to be real careful. Carrots, potatoes, all these types of things, you have to be careful about these root vegetables, and of course too many of us are mixing starch and meat together, and that is a real killer. I mean, starch and meat, man, if you're mixing starch and blood together, you're not going to stay healthy too long. I can guarantee you that. And remember, there's a difference between fitness and healthy. Because again, another patient of mine just came in. He was a professional wrestler, multiple head traumas, depressed. This reminds me of the player on the football player who committed suicide that played with the San Diego Chargers, the linebacker. And now we know there's a whole field of study in the NFL. Repeated head traumas can lead to depression and other neurological, obviously other neurological issues, but emotional issues like suicide and severe depressions. So, and of course, this bodybuilder is, he's a bodybuilder to get 80 pounds of mass in 1 year. I'm like, you can't do that naturally. So that means you're on hormones and steroids, and of course that messes your head up, and that shrinks your gonads, and you have sexual problems, and then you have behavioral problems, and you end up in the freaking psych unit. So, yeah, and I have to explain to him little by little, man, how to get himself back together. Of course, he only heard what he wanted to hear, but at least he heard some of it. This other lady that I was talking about in the psych unit, and I get sidetracked easy, but because there's so much that I want to tell you guys, and it's it just comes pouring out. At 60 years old, she's in a wheelchair. She can't get up because she's got rheumatoid arthritis, and I've been working with her for the better part of 5 years, but only when she comes in the hospital. And she won't go on a raw food diet, and yet she complains about the pain. She complains about having to use a wheelchair. She complains about the board and care that she has to stay in, and she complains about them telling her what to do and when to eat and when to shit and when to get up and when to go to bed. She's complaining about all this, and I said, well, what are you doing about it? I said, the very fact is that you have not taken 100% responsibility for yourself. Number two, knowing some of your dynamics, you have an angry inner child. Angry inner child is probably a subject for a whole video in and of itself, but it's something in your childhood where that child growing up didn't get what it needed. And if it is not, and therefore it doesn't go along with the rest of the development, there's a stunted development. And then, now some of this can be identified in psychotherapy, and then you're able to work out some of this stuff of what does this inner child really need? What does it have to be filled with? Obviously, it's usually looking for love in one form or another. Okay, but dysfunctional families, which makes up about 85% of all the families in America today. That's why I'll never be out of work. They they typically create some sort of imbalance in the children. Most of them by just pure ignorance, others by pure evil. Take your pick, it's all the same result. There's a moral judgment to be made there, but to me, it's still damage is done to the child, and now we know that damage can be done to a developing fetus. So the environment that the fetus is growing up in, that the embryo before it even hits planet Earth, i.e., gets out of the mother's womb and becomes a baby, an infant, a self-sustaining infant. When I say self-sustaining, I mean be able to breathe on its own, able to eat and take nutrition. That's what I mean, self-sustaining. Obviously, an infant needs the care of the mother and the family, and it needs to be fed and taken care of. But we're talking about from in utero all the way up until that baby transitions into adulthood, and even some after that. Needs a lot of love, a lot of care, needs to have boundaries set, and needs to be allowed to grow, and really the water of life for an infant outside of food, clothing, and shelter is love. And so at some point in time or another, love failed, and so now we have an angry inner child, and now we bring that into adulthood, and this inner child is the self-sabotager. This is the inner child that is the angry one. This is the inner child that where you try to make something happen, and yet it just never seems to be able to take off, and you can't figure out why. It's because you have an angry inner child, and it needs to be dealt with. It needs to be dealt with sooner rather than later, and typically that means you need professional help. However, finding good professional help, a good therapist, is hard to find. It's like finding a good physician who has woken up from the sleep and slumber and understands, hey, what real healing is all about. These are rare people. Now there's more and more waking up at a very slow rate. We need to do it fast because we got things going on. We got dark forces rearing its ugly head at a rapid race. We got people picking up guns, shooting people, thinking that because you're Islam or not Islam, or you're Christian or not Christian, or you're this color or that color, you believe in this and that. It's insanity, obviously. If any person that's spiritual awake says, what in the hell are you people doing? But people do it because this is where they are, right? And really they don't have anything else to do other than if someone puts guns and gives you money and tells you that's your enemy. Well, then I guess that's the enemy. They brainwash you in different ways. My solution to war would be just to shoot anyone who says, yeah, that's your enemy, go kill him. No, we should kill you for telling us to do that, and then the other people in the other countries should kill their leaders for telling them to go to war. And then we wouldn't have any war. We wouldn't have to worry about war. Okay, war is usually not because of the people themselves, or because the governments get freaking narcissistic and crazy, and then a few people get power hungry, and just because they can and whatever their nebulous plans are, go out to destroy humanity. So anyway, so she does work on the inner child. I told her she needs to go on a raw food diet if she has any chance of these joints repairing itself. And of course, the doctors just give her Norco and opioids and pain medicines to suppress everything. Her mind is already suppressed with the antidepressants and the quote OCD medications and the anxiolytic medications, medicines for anxiety. It suppresses everything, not curing anything. The lady's no better than she was 5 years ago, except every time she comes to the hospital and I spend time with her, a little bit more of a light goes off, And I said, I asked her, did you see the movie The Matrix? Because you can take the red pill or you can take the blue pill. It's a choice now. And what are her choices? I said, you can choose to be an adult. You can choose to take 100% full responsibility for exactly where you are now, and that everything that's happening is your doing, not somebody else's doing. I don't care if you were a victim in the past, you are no longer a victim. I don't care if someone did you wrong, it doesn't really matter at this point in time. What matters is that you now are taking full responsibility for everything that happens in your life. Whatever happens socially in your life, whatever happens in your love life, whatever's happening on an emotional level, whatever happening on a physical level, a spiritual level, metaphysical level, you're taking full responsibility for it. I said, or you can go and allow the inner child to rule everything and give into an easy life, which is a life where you give your power over to someone else, and that someone else tells you when to get up, when to eat, when to sleep, when you can watch television, when you can go outside. In her case, she can't even go outside. I mean, it's sad, at 60, she can't go outside and play because she can barely walk. And I see her getting worse and worse and worse. Now, she did take my advice and lose 29 pounds, but I said, you got a lot more to go than 29 pounds. And again, I don't ask you to really focus on weight loss. I'm asking you to focus on healthy. So did you go on a raw food diet for 90 days? Did you go through a detoxification protocol? Did you go on 100% pure clean water for 90 days? That's what I asked her to do. And because she can't get her mind, I said, do you have access to a computer? No. Do you have access to the internet? No. So then you want to remain ignorant. And so, people will sit there and complain, and yet they won't do anything, even when it's being spoon-fed to them. What can you do? You keep saying the same things in different ways, hoping that it may take root and take seed. But, obviously she's chosen the pill of remaining a child. And the system has SSI, which means you get money from the government. They put you in these homes, boarding care homes, and you don't have to live life, man. You can just sit back and just be, just essentially be a vegetable. Get up, eat, watch TV, smoke your cigarettes, eat a terrible, terrible low quality, low energy diet, low hydration diet, and get sick. And so that's where she is. But I told her, I said there is therapy, which is really symptom suppression in her case, and then there's cure, which is detoxification, raw food diet, alkalization, oxygenation, getting the proper sunlight, cutting through some of this old emotional and negative patterns of thinking, and also getting through her own fear of growing up, and then dealing with the inner child issues. But she won't do that. She wants to blame everybody around her, and when she looks at me, she knows she cannot get away with that because I don't put up with blaming other people. There's no blame. You must take responsibility. It's not easy, but that's the adult way. And a lot of us are not fully formed adults. And we want the label adult. No, well, a lot of you are not fully formed adults yet. A lot of you are kids in adults' clothing. That don't make you an adult. All right? Take full responsibility. Take full responsibility for your decisions. Do not blame anybody else. If you're poor, you have the power to become rich. If you don't like the way your life is now, you have the power to change it. If you don't like a particular person in your life, you have the power to get rid of that person and bring other positive people in their life. But most of you are afraid to be alone in the first place, and that's the problem why we got a lot of negative people in our life. So anyway, that was the difference between intervention, cure and intervention, and I gave a video on that. What's the difference between allopathic and naturopathic medicine? I've also answered that, right? Naturopathic medicine is the natural cure using diet and detoxification mainly as its sole way of healing, and allopathic medicine is modern medicine. What's the most effective way to lose weight and keep it off? Obviously, going to the raw food lifestyle, developing a raw food consciousness, pushing your diet to 75% and beyond. And when you detoxify, you're at 100% raw foods. So that's the quickest way. You don't focus on weight loss. Focus on raw food. How much raw foods can you take? If you ate only 50% raw foods today, then you got to consider yourself a failure, because you got to get to 70%, 75, 80, 90, 100% for a while. Then you can back it off for a little bit. But everybody's maintenance diet should be about 75% raw food. And then you probably can eat a little bit of high quality meat. Listen, I'm not promoting meat eating, but some of you will never stop eating meat. So I'll talk about the lesser of two evils on another video. This is not the time to talk about it, but some of you just won't stop eating meat. And so there are proper ways of going about if you're going to consume some dead animal flesh, and I still do to some extent. I mean, I don't make a significant habit of doing it, but I still will on occasion. And then when I do that, there's certain things I do immediately afterwards to help my body process that and flush it out as quickly as possible. But again, nobody's perfect, so nobody's asking for perfection. 75%, all right, but you got to be thinking almost, how can I get to 100% raw food? And like I said, most of you will never get there other than short periods of time. 90 days is a short period of time, 120 days. It's the special ones that can really take it to the other extreme. And I've never really seen anybody get sick from that. I've seen them get better. Yes, you might get sick from what we call when the toxins are coming out, you can have a healing crisis. And of course, the toxins went in, now they have to come out. Once they hit the body starts to get rid of it can cause a little bit of uneasiness, and we call it a healing crisis. And actually, that's a good thing. A guy told me he was having 4 bowel movements a day. He was eating all fruits. One of the guys that I coach, I was telling him about 4 bowel movements a day. I said, good. He says, no, that was too much. I said, no, man. And he was going to the bathroom 6 or 7 times. I said, that's your body trying to detoxify itself. You gave yourself an all-fruit diet. They said, oh, good. Now we're alkalized. We got the minerals we need. We're getting hydrated. We got a lot of fluid in the system. And now we can begin to hydrate. And he's ready to back off because of 4 bowel movements. Folks, if you have 4 bowel movements, that's a good thing. If you go into the bathroom 6 or 7 times a day on a raw food diet, that's a good thing. That means your kidneys are starting to ramp up and get rid of all this freaking acid waste that's just laying around. Okay, and if you're not really sick, it's a good thing because that means you won't get sick. And if you are sick, that means that your body will get rid of those toxins, clean out the body, and then begin the repair and regeneration process if you can hang with it long enough. So that was the thing about this guy at the gym. So we don't worry about weight loss. We worry about taking the diet to an alkaline, high energy, high raw food diet. What would you do if you were diagnosed with a terminal illness such as cancer? I just addressed that in the last video. I told Mr. Oncologist because a family member of mine has been diagnosed with spindle cell sarcoma, and they did surgery and cut it out. Okay, sometimes even that's dangerous, but it's already that's already been done. And now the thing is, should you get chemotherapy, radiation, combination, whatever, and you go on to an oncologist? Well, the oncologist can only do 1 or 2 things. He can tell you, get your radiation and your chemotherapy, which is insanity. 99% of the time, that's insanity. Or you can wait. But you cannot just wait and do nothing. You've got abnormal cell division. You've got abnormal cell proliferation. You've got a tumor that has developed, and it is not just in that part of your body. This is a systemic problem. There will be other problems. There will be other cancers, as I spoke about Catherine Albright, who's on Coast to Coast, which I recommend everybody listen to. Coast to Coast with George Noory, one of my favorite radio shows, and it's probably the most popular nighttime show. Just wonderful stuff there if you know how to sit through the and feel what truth is coming out and when it's all BS. But for the most part, I would say good 80% of it is spot on. And this is where I got to my first introduction to Sherry Tenpenny. But I also got my first introduction to Dr. Wallach, who I think is a complete idiot. So yeah, but that's how you have to know the difference between those who are doing the right thing. You can only know that if you have experimented on yourself, understood within yourself, and stop looking outside for the answers. Look inside first, and then on the outside, then you may get some reinforcement or a different way to look at things and a different way of approaching it that you've already been doing, but maybe you need to make a few adjustments here and there, and that's where some of the outside stuff can help you, like water fasting. And it's the next issue for me is water fasting, and so I'm doing research on that now, and I'll let you know what I find out. So again, I would not be going to chemotherapy. I would not be going to radiation, since we know those are the things that actually cause cancer. I would go on a 100% raw food, a serious detoxification diet. Probably at some point do a water fast, minimum 7 days, maybe as high as 21-day water fast. I might, if you could afford it, go down to the tropics for a while and just eat nothing but the fruits. Because there you could survive on nothing but the fruit, because the soil is good and the quality of fruits is excellent, and you're in a warm environment, and the air is clean, the air is vibrant and ionized properly. There's trees and plants around that ionize the air. The sounds of nature are calming and peaceful, and the fruits are calming and peaceful. And remember, part of dealing with illness, man, is getting that mind in a peaceful state and taking it out of a fearful state, and also taking it out of a hypnotized, programmed, manipulated state. Are you familiar with the following systems of healing? Allopathy, naturopathy, energy healing, acupuncture, acupressure, therapeutic massage, dip tissue massage, Reiki healing, herbal medicine, raw food lifestyle, vegetarianism, South Beach diet, Paleolithic diet, Mediterranean diet, therapeutic breathing, kinesiology, chiropractic manipulation, full body detoxification, osteopathic medicine. I would say I'm not going to answer that question because that's really dealing with what is therapeutic intervention versus curative intervention. So mixed into there, like energy healing, it's not curative. Although most of the raw food, oxygenation, meditation, yoga breathing, metaphysical techniques, all this stuff is designed to increase your energy, but to keep it there. So you can't just do energy healing where you're trying to send energy to someone else into a diseased part of the body and think that that's going to work. It can have, again, a therapeutic a therapeutic reaction, but it's not a curative reaction. Raw food lifestyle, that is curative. Therapeutic breathing, that is part of a curative intervention, but the real curative is full body detoxification, and everything else is secondary. What is the most destructive emotion that destroys human health? Well, I talked about overreaction. I talked about emotional waste, how it can, you can respond to a situation. And it's funny how people say, so-and-so made me angry. So-and-so got me upset. So-and-so did this to me. No, so-and-so doesn't do it to you. You choose to react the way you react. Again, if you do not take 100% responsibility for everything that happens to you, then you can never ever grow as a human being. You can never internally refine yourself. You will never find yourself in a healing mode because, again, you always see the problem outside instead of within yourself. So the most destructive emotion is blaming others, obviously, because you're not taking responsibility. What really is irrational fear. Irrational fear is the most destructive human emotion, and then from irrational fear comes the anger from that. But irrational fear, and this is how we become programmed, manipulated, taken advantage of through irrational fear, and a program of a steady diet of fear, and then we internalize that fear, and it becomes part of us, and it becomes very difficult for us then to reprogram ourselves positively. And again, raw foods increase their energy, take you out of some of that negative thinking. Again, you have to do some internal work on yourself. You have to do some metaphysical training. Some of you may have to go to therapy. But yeah, the most destructive emotion that destroys human health is irrational fear. Are you aware of the most effective way to restore emotional balance? I think we just talked about that. What is the king of all healing interventions? We know the detoxification is. Do you know how to create a program of nutritional supplementation that will not harm you? Of course, there's 2 or 3 videos now before this one that addresses that, so please see that. Are you aware of the major sources of environmental toxins and their effect on human health? Well, we've got toxins all over the place now, from medicines, we've got toxic thoughts, we have toxic pesticides, we have toxins in the food, we have toxins in the soil, we have toxins in the vaccines, we have we have toxins now being sprayed in the air through chemtrails. So we have toxins in your medicine cabinet, we have toxins that we put on our skin, we have toxins in our clothing. A lot of our clothing is synthetic and toxic. So you have to really be aware that toxins are almost all around us, and that's why all of us need to go through a detoxification, because these toxins build up, and this is really what ultimately causes chronic disease. All right, and depending on what toxins you're exposed to is probably what disease will develop, right? And some of them are very serious diseases that are life-threatening. And so you know, you have to be aware of what their effect is on human health. It causes, quote, disease, but really what it causes is imbalance and creates conditions and symptoms that should tell you how to, that you need to go into full body detox. And do you know how to do a full body detoxification? If you don't, we'll talk about that. But obviously I'm not going to go through here. Do you know what the highest form of eating man can aspire to? I think most of you got watching the video already know. Raw food diet. That's the highest that you can aspire to. Thinking like a gorilla. Water, raw foods diet. Greens, mostly juiced. Fruits, make smoothies. Eat them the way you need to eat them. Try and get them as ripe as possible so that they have the highest energy possible and and hydration. So we know that the highest form of man can aspire to. And most of us need to at least be at 75% of what that diet is, which we call raw food lifestyle. Do you understand the importance of sunlight when dealing with curing disease? That's a very tricky one because we've got to have sunlight. Sunlight on the skin, which again, if I went out just like this, long sleeves, covered to my neck, legs covered, and I sat out in the sun for 20 or 30 minutes, I'm not getting sun, folks. The sun is, the clothes have to come off, and then you have to sit in the sun. That's how you get sun exposure. Or you can do an activity in the sun for 20, 30 minutes. Most of you don't need more than 20, 30 minutes of direct sunlight exposure. Then you can put clothes on or a hat on, and you can even put sunglasses on after that. But I recommend if you do not need sunglasses, don't put the sunglasses on, because there's a healthy feedback mechanism between the light of the sun, the optic nerve, and your brain and brain function. So, okay, and of course we know that vitamin D, inactive vitamin D2, gets to active vitamin D3 through sunlight exposure hitting the skin. So you have to have that. We also know that sunlight is a natural antidepressant. And of course we know that without sunlight, nothing happens. Without sunlight, nothing grows. So sunlight is one of the most important things in the world. And I talked about us messing around with the atmosphere, how it can refract the sunlight differently and cause problems. So we have to be aware of what we're dealing with. But yeah, I think the sunlight's still healthy. Do you understand how metaphysical principles are deeply involved in health and healing? And this is really, for those of you that have not taken any classes in metaphysics, go become a student, even if it's just through a correspondence course through the mail, and become a student of metaphysics. I studied Rosicrucians. Am I a Rosicrucian? Nope, but I studied it. I studied a star. Am I an Astarian? Nope, but I studied it. I studied mental physics. Am I a mental physician? Nope, but I studied it. Why? Because all this stuff gave me insight into who I was, what I was, where I came from, what my mission was, how to meditate, how to manipulate energy, how to use mental powers, how to get into cosmic expansion. But I also read a lot of books on the subject. I read the Seth material, Jane Roberts, and now Frost is doing Seth materials. Supposedly there's a book coming out from Seth through Frost about natural healing, and I can't wait for that to come out. I'd love to see what has to be said about that. I read a lot of the Edgar Cayce stuff. I read the John Monroe stuff. I read all the astral projection stuff. So listen, this is what metaphysics is. It's true spirituality. It's not sitting around waiting for a savior to come save us all and reading something wrote out of a book and going to a church and going blah, 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 and then singing, and sitting down and you know what the hell you're talking about. All right, and half the preachers don't know what the hell they're talking about except giving them money. Are you confused about the complementary choices you'll have to make to achieve full health potentials? You should not be, because again, I've given you a lot of the keys already, and that all you have to understand is this a therapeutic intervention or is this a curative intervention? It's just like therapeutic intervention or a curative intervention. Do you know the number one key to happiness? Now I've talked about this, but now I'll put it in its proper space. The number one key to happiness is having a dream, that you're a passion within your heart and within your mind, something that you really, really love doing. For me, it's healing. Obviously, I've devoted my entire life to healing, to medicine, to becoming a medical doctor and beyond, a detox specialist, naturopathic medicine. All this is, and I'm still going to take it further. Water detoxification. I mean, water fasting, juice fasting. All this stuff is now. This was the new frontier of healing. That the majority of people haven't heard yet, and so those of you who are watching the video, consider yourself lucky, because that means your mind is taking you to that place where you go into the higher vibrations and you're looking for a different type of answer. So the number one key to happiness is having a dream and pursuing that dream. Of course, you cannot pursue that dream with all your vigor and all your focus if you're not healthy, and you can't do it for a long period of time if you're not healthy, and you want to have the energy to pursue that dream if you are not healthy. So that's just why health is so important, right? The dream is number one, but health is right there as a close number two, right? And obviously you got to have love, but love comes when you're passionate about something. You automatically love that thing. When you willing to die for that thing. I remember who was it? Martin Luther King said that if you are not doing something in this world that you're willing to die for, then you're not really living at all anyway. So you're already dead. So there's something to be said about that. You have to have something, that one thing, and you can do other things too, but you must have that one thing that you are super passionate about, you've devoted your life to. That is your soul mission. That's where you're going down, and nobody can stop you, right? Your creativity, your mind, everything, problem solving is all geared toward whatever this one thing is, right? And you have to have singularity of purpose when you figure out what this one thing is. And it's funny that a lot of people come to me with mental disorders and they're dreamless. And I'm like, well, it's no wonder you're having a mental problem, because you're going around and around and around and around and around in a circle, going nowhere. That in itself is grounds for self-destruction. Who wants to live a life like that? No, you want to have a life of purpose. You want to have a life where you're connecting to positive people who think like you. You want to have a life where you really feel like you're out helping others and also helping yourself at the same time. You want to be living your dreams. And so that's the key to happiness. And for those of you who haven't found your dream and not living your dreams yet, then you go get married, and or you marry someone who's not found themselves and they're not living their dreams, and their dreams are coming through you, then you got a problem. That relationship will not last. So please don't get involved with these types of people who are dreamless. They need to be passionate, they need to be excited about what they're doing, and they need to be focused, and they need to let you know that they're focused, and they need to let you know, hey, I'm going along this path without you. If we can come together, that's wonderful. If we don't, then that's wonderful. There's no anger, there's no hard feelings. It's just that's how passionate I am about that. And when you're involved in a relationship, you must allow your partner to develop and go after that dream. Otherwise, you're gonna end up putting the brakes on your own partner, and that's because of irrational fear, and you destroy the relationship. And that also means that you don't have a dream that you're living, and you don't understand the importance of allowing someone else to live their dreams. Okay, and then you share that energy together. That's the beginnings of a good, positive relationship, male and female. Or male and male and female and female. I don't put judgments on that kind of thing. So that's the number one key to happiness. Do you have some basic understanding of human physiology? I'm going to do a video course on human physiology, so stay tuned. I don't know if it's going to be through the website, if I'll do it here on YouTube, and I also have a site on Vimeo. I may do it on Vimeo and then just let it feed into the website. But there will be a course on human physiology, and I have some other courses in the pipeline, because I think everybody needs to understand some of the little basis of human physiology, some of the basis of cellular physiology, some of the basis of endocrinology, some of the basis of a human nervous system, just the basis. So a lot of you have it already, and some of you have no clue about how the immune system works, about the lymph system, about the kidneys. And so I have to go and make sure that I have put out a short training course that takes you from A to Z and focus you on the most important parts of the body and human physiology, so that when I start talking about pH, I start talking about the lymph system, I start talking about the endocrine system, I start talking about the thyroid, the parathyroid, I start talking about connective tissue, I start talking about the kidneys and the adrenal glands, right? The renal system and the adrenal system, which your adrenal glands are. When I start talking about the pancreas, the GI tract, the gallbladder, the liver, the bladder, just basic stuff that that I need to bring you up to snuff with, and I can't assume that everybody understands that. I have to assume that you don't understand that, and it's my job then to at least give you some of the building blocks of which to understand that, and then go send you in the right directions and send you to resources that can give you a quick knowledge base. You don't have to become an expert in this stuff. I'm the expert in this stuff. My job is, as the expert in this stuff, to simplify it for you and give you that conceptual framework so that you can understand what's going on. So anyway, this video is getting kind of long. I know I did cover a lot of subjects, but I just wanted to show you that these questions are on the website. And so people who go to the website, you look at that, and that kind of gives you, if you're having difficulty answering those questions, I answered most of them today. And the ones that didn't, that means they need a video or a full course in and of themselves, which I will be coming up and doing very soon. So with that, I'm going to sign off. I feel this has been a very productive video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know it's always long, and my videos are by nature long because, again, I don't come in with 7-minute sound bites. I mean, this is really what, if you got something to say, man, say it, and say it in depth. No, I don't want a 3-hour video either, because I'm not going to watch it, but listen, Dr. Robert Morse has made 3-hour videos, and guess what? I watched all 3 hours of it. Not all at once. 30 minutes there, 40 minutes there, until I got through it. Why? Because it was that important, and I thought the knowledge that he was sharing was that important for me to have and to hear over and over and over again. People say, oh, the videos are boring because you keep saying the same things over and over. Yeah, that's how you learn. Repetition over and over and over and over and over again. Remember I told you I like basketball. In order to master basketball, you got to take monotonous stuff. But again, if you love it, it's not monotonous till you realize it's what you have to go through, what you must suffer through, what you must put yourself through in order to be successful. So you have to do the same drills over and over and over and over and over, and every day. So you're working on these skill sets over and over. A good coach can make it fun, can make it interesting, can make it competitive, and get you in great shape and teach you the game. My high school that I played in has never won the state championship until I got there. Not that my presence there was why we won the state championship. It was not. It was a group of people coming together with a good coach who assembled a team together with a defensive philosophy and took us through monotony day after day after day after day after day after day until we got it right. And nobody complained. That's why, because we love basketball. And that's how you become successful, man. So you're going to hear the same things over and over and over again. Listen, to be successful at basketball is simple. To be successful at getting healthy is simple. The question is, do you have what it takes to do it? Over and over and over again. Do you have what it takes to reprogram that stubborn mind? Okay? Which is, it's supposed to be your servant, but it can be your worst enemy if you don't get it under control. Do you have what it takes to bring your emotional body, emotional self in balance? Do you have what it takes to develop the consciousness of understanding detoxification and the raw food lifestyle? If you don't, you will not be successful on any level because you won't be healthy enough to proceed and be successful. Okay? And if you are successful, think about what you could do if you could magnify your success by tenfold, just by changing your conscience and doing some of the things that I suggest repetitively over and over and over again until it takes root. Trust me, this stuff works. So with that, peace, power, prosperity, and most of all, love to you and your families. This is Dr. Z signing off, and I'll see you on the other side of optimal health. Bye now.